Hi, I'm Catherine Ann, an intuitive astrologer and galactic channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel where astrology meets intuition and spirit speaks through the stars. Today, we're going to be looking at the energies of the new moon in Cancer, which happens on June 25th at 3:31 a.m. Pacific time. So when we're looking at this new moon in Cancer, you can see that it's at 4 degrees, and right next to it is Jupiter at 3 degrees in Cancer. So what we're seeing here is a very comfortable moon and a very comfortable Jupiter side by side. What we have is a deeply, deeply personal new moon. This new moon is going to invite us to get in touch with the soft parts inside any hard outer shell that we may have for protection. It's going to ask us to get in touch with our emotions, our intuition, and connect with whatever feels like home to you. So the moon is asking us, what do we need to feel nurtured, safe, and protected? That is what this new moon is all about. So Cancer is the home of the moon. And so when we have a moon in Cancer, it gives us that feeling where we just want to snuggle in with a comfy blanket, watch a Hallmark movie, have some of all of our favorite coziness, and just feel at home. And Jupiter, right next to this new moon, holding hands with the sun and moon, could not be happier to be in Cancer. It just moved into Cancer a few weeks before this new moon on June 9th. It has been in Gemini for a year, not its favorite place to be. But now that it's in Cancer, it is exalted. It could not be happier. This is where Jupiter wants to be. And yet, we don't fully have all the blessings of Jupiter quite yet, even though it's side by side with this new moon, who is so happy to be at home in Cancer. Even though Jupiter is exalted and so happy to be in Cancer, you would think that those two things together are this massive celebration of everything's wonderful, but there's some other elements we need to consider before we just go blindly into yay, all is good. So let's take a look at what's happening in the bigger picture around this new moon. First of all, Jupiter, the day before this new moon, comes directly into contact with the sun. This is a great thing. It's like a reset for Jupiter. And the way I get this image from spirit is like Jupiter coming under the rays of the sun and burning off all of that Gemini energy that it was uncomfortable in and didn't really enjoy, but it was there for the past year. And now with this reset, as it comes into contact with the sun, it's burned off all of that and it's ready to start anew. Home sweet home in Gemini. But something we have to consider here is just within the week prior to this new moon, Jupiter has been facing a very uncomfortable square from both Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So it's the third pass of the square from Saturn to Jupiter, the third and final for a long time, which is fantastic. But it is now at this place where it has dealt with the tension of the square once, it dealt with it again, and now we're at that final pass, and we just have to really face the obstacles and tension that Saturn has been putting in our path. So Saturn has been saying, great, you want to dream big? Great, you have all of these ideas, but I need you to think about, is this possible? Are there things that are roadblocks or things that you're going to have to get through before you can have what you want? And that has been draining on Jupiter. And so even though we have Jupiter so happy in its new sign, it's been through a lot. Spent a year in detriment, has had now its third square with Saturn, went through another square with Neptune right after that, and it's kind of exhausted. And so Jupiter wants to be the great benefic planet of blessings and expansion. But I get this feeling almost like a marathon runner after they've had a long run. They cannot re-engage and go back into their normal life until they rest and replenish. They're physically not capable. And that's what this Jupiter feels like to me. It feels like it's been through a lot. It's run a marathon. It went through this amazing reset with the sun the day before the new moon, but now it needs to plug in a little bit more, recharge, gather its strength now that it is in its home sweet home place of exaltation. It's needing to absorb all of the bounty of its favorite home. It's kind of like when you've had a rough day and you go home, and just being with your pets, with your family, maybe a nurturing meal, snuggling up, recharges you and fills your cup. That's what Jupiter is needing to do. And also, that's what the new moon is asking of us. It's saying it's time to refill our cup. We've been through a lot, both internally and externally, because we know that the external world is always a reflection of what's going on internally in our collective conscious. But we've been through a lot. The first half of the year really impacted our nervous system, really, for many, many of us who are empathic, has touched our hearts and made us question what is going on in the world. And now it's time to snuggle up, rest and recover, get that book, get that warm tea, watch a Hallmark movie, whatever it is that makes you feel cozy and replenished. You're going to plug yourself back in and give yourself a little bit of self-care simultaneously as Jupiter is doing the same thing, because Jupiter wants to bring you abundance and blessings. This new moon wants you to plant a new intention, start a new plan, a new idea. We're planting that seed and wanting to watch it grow. Jupiter here is saying, yes, I'm with you. I am going to do this for you. But first, we need to process what we've been through. We can't just barrel through, as Jupiter and the moon and the sun are all sitting in the house of Cancer, emotions, of feeling, and ignore our feelings. So, what this new moon time is saying is we have lots to uncover if we have not been processing our emotions, if we have not been facing everything that we've been feeling, as the world has been so all over the place and upsetting. We need to process the feelings. So Jupiter next to the sun is all the feels, big emotions, big feelings, and let's feel them. Take some time. Let that healing happen. Because if we're going to set a new intention, we need to set it from a place of compassion, love, and alignment. That is what a new intention in Cancer wants from us. We need to be emotionally secure in this Cancer home to set an intention of what we want to bring to fruition. And I keep getting pulled to this tarot card. The Two of Cups is the card associated with this decan for a 4-degree Cancer moon. And that Two of Cups is about harmony, partnership, connection, love. And what it's asking of us is, can we come to a place of harmony and alignment so that we can both give and receive? In this card, you can see that there is a giving and a receiving. And this is one of the things I want to pull us back to the conversation about how Saturn has been squaring Jupiter for this third time. So that means for quite a bit of time, we've been coming back and forth into this. Yes, we know you want to expand. We know you want things, but roadblocks, tension, obstacles have gotten in the way. And let's think as we're recharging, refilling our cup in a nice, cozy Cancer moon weekend, where is that tension coming from in our life? Is it some sort of disillusionment because your dreams have been squashed by some sort of harsh Saturnian reality check? And you need to process the disappointment, the disillusionment, the frustration of it not coming to pass, and maybe feeling like you don't know how to make it come to pass. Is it a tension that is the exhaustion of codependent enmeshment? Are you in a place where you've spent so much energy making sure everyone else feels happy, or that at least no one's mad at you, that you're completely depleted and you need to recharge? Or is it just your empathetic nature that needs some nurturing because you've been watching a lot of strife and struggle going on in the world? And that is as real as it can get. So, this Cancer time, this new moon, this Jupiter reset in Cancer is saying, we know there's a lot of big emotions. Feel them and then process them. Let them go. Recharge. Fill your cup, because you cannot give from an empty cup. And you also will not receive in compassion and love and harmony when you are depleted. So, in order to give that harmonious exchange of giving and receiving, between you and others, between you and the universe, we need to fill our cups. The other thing that this moon promises is that the sun will shine again. So even though things have been rough out there, even though Saturn has been putting tension, obstacles, and reality checks in our way for this past year with Jupiter, we are going to see the sun shine again. Not immediately. Just as I mentioned before, the marathon runner has to take time to recharge, replenish, get all of its nurturing and rest before it can emerge back out into life. That is also what's happening with Jupiter. So Jupiter in this reset is what's called under the beams of the sun. So it's going to take at least a few weeks of Cancer season before the sun moves far enough away where we can see Jupiter out in the night sky bright and clearly. And while Jupiter is under the beams of the sun, it's in a place where its gifts and blessings are behind the scenes. They're hidden. They're not out in the world to be seen. And so knowing that Jupiter is replenishing and recharging, but it is also doing that behind the scenes work to get the seed you plant, the intention you set in this new moon, to begin to sprout. And Jupiter will bring abundance and blessings to this intention if you are patient enough, if you do it with compassion and love and trust that the sun will come out and what you are trying to bring to life will be able to shine. So, the song that Spirit gave me as I was working on pulling together all of this information was the song Here Comes the Sun from the Beatles. And the recommendation they gave me was, if we see something on the news that's a little or a lot rough to see that's happening in the world, if we get discouraged because something's going on, if there's some why is this still not happening energy, or we're just exhausted and depleted from the nervous fry of the last 6 months, that song, Here Comes the Sun, is the promise that this new moon is bringing us, that we will come out into the light. And I feel like that's something that's really important, not only for right now during this Cancer new moon, but probably for the months to come, that we have this faith that we will come out into the sun, that it will not always be like this. Another thing that is happening that I'd want to mention before I go into the signs is that there are some configurations telling us that opportunities abound. We have the sun and moon in a tight sextile to Mars, which makes us feel enthusiastic about opportunities. And so once we replenish our cup and we start thinking about, well, what do we want to plant? What intention do we want to set? We have that energy where Mars is saying, okay, I can do this. We can make this happen. Let's let's imagine all the little details. Mars is in Virgo, and so Mars wants all the little details. You don't need to go overboard with the planning. You know that saying, what's that saying? Like, make God laugh, show him your plans, or something like that. We don't need all the plans. We're just setting the intention. But you can feel like you're going to get organized. You're going to have opportunities show up quickly with this intention being set. Also, the other thing that's great about this is that Uranus is also in a very nice sextile to Mercury. And when Uranus and Mercury are in happy conversation, that's quick thinking, bright ideas, lightning downloads. And so, as you are coming out of that phase of processing your emotions and refilling your cup, you're also going to get excited about some new ideas, some things you might want to do, and have that enthusiasm to say, yes, this is the intention I want to set. Let's do it. So, when we're looking at the various signs and how this new moon is showing up, we're going to look at the house that this new moon is in, which also happens to be the house that Jupiter is in for the next year. And for right now, it is the house that Mercury is in. And so, Mercury, the planet of communication, getting those downloads from Uranus, is also going to have that emotional, loving communication, at least right at this moment, while we're getting ready to set some intentions. And all of this is happening in the same house. So we're going to talk about where, for the Aries sun and rising, what topic in your life is really a focus of this Cancer energy and this new moon, and some areas that you may want to consider setting an intention in. Also, this is probably the place where you are going to feel home sweet home, that coziness. And so keep that in mind as I'm mentioning all the topics. What about these topics is not only the place you're setting an intention, but it's also the place where you go to replenish, to feel like home, and to be nurtured. So let's look at each zodiac sign. We're going to start with Aries. And remember that you can look at this for your sun sign or your rising sign. So for Aries, this moon is showing up in your fourth house of home, of your family, of your lineage, even your house, your real estate. And so, what better place to talk about that homey Cancer feeling of safety and emotions than in your actual home? Now, for not everyone, your childhood home or your family home, that's not your safe space. That's not what you would call cozy. But do you have a place that you have created now? Maybe it's your own home. Maybe it's an extended family that you've created that is now your home. You're thinking about actually your living space and your lineage and what feels like home. And what intentions do we want to set around that environment? Because Jupiter is bringing blessings to that area for the next year. Taurus, we're looking at the new moon in Cancer happening in the area of your neighborhood, your local environment, your community. It could also be with a sibling or with a short trip or even communication. So, where in all of those topics do you find that sense of home? And what intentions do you want to plant about those topics, or with support of those areas? What do you want to plant to watch grow over the next 6 months to a year? Because we'll have the Cancer full moon in 6 months, and either it'll fully come to culmination or it'll come more to light how it's continuing to grow. But Jupiter will be there for the next year, providing its blessings and an expansion. So take advantage of the opportunity to set an intention around these areas, around your local environment, your community, short trips, siblings, communication. Gemini, this new moon is showing up in your second house of money, possessions, income, assets, and what you value. So for those Gemini, one of the things that helps you feel secure is feeling financially secure, that you have income, that you have cash flow, you have possessions or assets that help you feel like you're safe. And so if you are having anything going in your life where you are needing more security in this area, that is definitely an intention to set around bringing in more cash flow, bringing in more financial security, feeling that you have everything you need when you want and need it. So, Gemini, this is where Jupiter is spending the next year bringing you blessings. Set that intention in aligned compassion and love, and watch Jupiter bring you that abundance. Cancer, you are seeing this new moon show up in the first house of you. So, your appearance, the way you present yourself to the outer world, the impression you make on people, your body. Cancer, you need to feel at home within you. And that is where you are going to find that balance and that alignment, is when you feel at home within who you are and how you show up in the world. So Jupiter is here helping you over the next year grow in this area. Set some intentions around really showing up for yourself as yourself, and watch Jupiter support that dream. Leo, you are having this Cancer new moon show up in your 12th house of retreat, the hidden, the subconscious. It's that place where you can release. It's also the place of self-sabotage and hidden enemies. So this is an area where you really want to feel that harmony and safety, emotional security in your mental space, in your mind. It's an opportunity to set intentions, to put practices in place to clear the busy thinking or the negative self-talk, and have practices in place, affirmations, or any sort of therapeutic or spiritual work that you can do to come into harmony and balance in that place in your mental space, so that you are in a place of abundance and expansion internally. Because with Jupiter in your 12th house, it is non-discriminatory. It's going to expand for positive or negative. We want to set intentions that Jupiter gives us that expansion in the positive self-talk, in the healing, in the subconscious awareness and growth in that area. Virgo, you are going to see the Cancer new moon show up in your 11th house of hopes and wishes, of friendship, of good spirit. And I can't imagine a more beautiful place for Jupiter to show up and bring you bounty in your house of hopes and wishes. So after you spend a little bit of time replenishing yourself, filling your cup, think about your hopes and dreams. Are there opportunities that you want to capitalize on where you need to set that intention for deeper friendships, for expanded community connections, for expansion in all of your hopes and wishes? Virgo, this is a beautiful year for you to capitalize on this Jupiter in Cancer and the Cancer new moon, helping you bring something out over the next 6 months to a year. Libra, this new moon in Cancer is showing up in your 10th house of career and fame and reputation. It's that legacy you leave, that public face that um, really aspire to. This is the top of your chart. This is that place where you are reaching for that to be seen. So, where in your career space do you want to focus? What intentions do you want to set that center around this alignment with harmony, compassion, love, emotional security, and safety? And how can Jupiter expand that for you? So look at setting those intentions in your workspace, in your public reputation. If you are retired, in your legacy in general, what are you doing out in the community? If you are not yet in a career space and you are still going through school, this applies to there. This is your school is your job. So where do you need to find that harmony and balance and that emotional safety? What intentions do you need to set to bring that fuller to fruition? Scorpio, you are finding this new moon in Cancer showing up in your 9th house. And the 9th house is where we expand our mind by travel, through study, through religion, belief systems, going for international situations where that introduces you to new cultures and you learn more and you expand and it opens your mind. And so, in this new moon in Cancer, where do you want to expand in those areas? And what about those areas brings you a sense of harmony and safety and emotional security? Is it that you are finding that in a new spiritual path? Are you interested in taking some new classes or some new courses to feel more aligned in who you really are? Are you realizing that maybe home to you is somewhere else? Maybe home to you is wherever you travel with the person you travel with, or maybe you've never felt at home in the culture or country that you're in, and there's another place that feels more like home to you. This is what this new moon is bringing up. And do you want to set some intentions about exploring that? And what bigger, broader ideas can bring you a greater sense of home within? Sagittarius, you're seeing this new moon show up in your 8th house of death, debt, and taxes, resources of others. So, home to you may be correlated to how well you're supported by a partner. So, do you have some intentions or some work to do to set around really accepting and receiving the support of a partner? Makes me think of this card, the Two of Cups, that giving and receiving, that harmonious balance. Can you receive all that is being offered to you by a partner? On another note, maybe this has to do with long-term financial security, and you're looking to maybe clear some belief systems or clear some emotional ties that inhibit your ability to feel safe on a long-term financial situation. So we're going to be looking at how can we set an intention that aligns with our emotional security and safety, our feeling of home, and allowing Jupiter to expand that. And that could mean in this financial house, it could mean expansion of others offering resources to you. It could mean expansion of um, assets that help you set yourself up for long term comfort or stability, or maybe set your loved ones up through an inheritance, or maybe it means you are going to have opportunities to pay off tax bills or debt because you have gotten to this place of feeling comfortable being in a place of receiving. So, Sagittarius, this is what we're looking at for you for the Cancer new moon. Capricorn, you're finding this new moon in Cancer in your seventh house of partnership, the one on one intimate relationships, whether that's a romantic partnership, a business partnership. If you have one on one clients, it's those one on one relationships that are so important to you. And for Capricorn, this is really shining a light on what in partnership feels nurturing and supported. How do you feel supported in a relationship? What do you need? You need your partnerships to feel safe. You need your partnerships to feel like a soft place to land. And so, setting intentions, whether you have a romantic partner or a business partner, whatever type of partnerships, or you're looking to manifest and bring those in, setting those intentions around feeling seen and held and secure in your one on one relationships, and allowing Jupiter to bring in its blessing and bounty over the next 6 months to a year. Okay, Pisces, we are looking at the new moon showing up in your sixth house of health and wellness and routines. It's also the house of illness and just the daily grind and your little pets. So, with Cancer in the sixth house, I really want you looking at how do you need to create nurturing habits? What nurturing habits for yourself need to be maybe readjusted so that you are in that equal giving and receiving? Because in this sixth house of service, you may give, you may nurture and mother others like a pro. But are you doing that for yourself? We want to make sure that we're setting intentions for ourselves to also be nurtured, to also feel emotionally secure, and let Jupiter bless us with that beautiful balance and harmony in our daily lives so that it doesn't expand an imbalance in our daily life and health and wellness. And now we're going to look at Aquarius. So, Aquarius, you have this Cancer new moon showing up in your fifth house of children, creativity, romance. It's a great fortune house. And so, what a beautiful place to be setting intentions around this concept of nurturing and home. Are you going to be setting intentions around nurturing relationships with your children, bringing in a new child if that's something that you want? Creative endeavors, artistic endeavors. Are you wanting to bring in a romance? Ready to start maybe thinking about dating? This is the house of joy. This is the house of happiness and going out there and living life. And so let's set some intentions around bringing harmony, balance, emotional security into that area of creative fun and pleasure. And let Jupiter expand and expand and expand in that area. All right, so we made it through all the signs. I am wishing you beautiful new moon in Cancer with Jupiter in Cancer blessings. Just remember, It's going to be a slow release as far as Jupiter's blessings coming out to the light. So just as we plant a seed in the dark and it has to do its stuff before it sprouts out into the light, that is what's happening right now. We're not expecting anything to happen. Even though we can feel enthusiastic about opportunities and bright ideas, those are fleeting energies. And that's just going to give us the spark to know what intention we want to set. And then we trust in the process of that seed growing and coming out into the light bit by bit, with Jupiter expanding and expanding and expanding its blessings over the next year. This is where we have to trust. Here comes the sun. Even when everything that we see out in our world, in the media, in the global picture, is rough and not very shiny or sunny. What we need to remember is our light is in here. And we are going to nurture our light. And as we nurture our light, that light shines out into others, expands collectively, and we can trust that the sun will come out. And when you're in doubt, put on that Here Comes the Sun from the Beatles, hum that little tune, and remind yourself that we are on our way to something brighter. All right, so thank you everybody for joining me for my video. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you would like to have a more in-depth conversation about how the energies out in the sky and what spirit has to say about it impact you personally, you can always go to my website and book a personal reading. I would love to connect with you.